maybe make some notes about like things not to do. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel where we talk about travel and languages. My name is Kristen. So this video has been kind of a long time coming. I'm sure many of you are curious how I kind of started traveling to Japan over and over and over and over again before I got my job as a flight attendant. So here is that story. So I was raised in an environment where travel was not a frequent thing, especially abroad. In fact, the first time I ever went abroad was my very first trip to Japan. Needless to say, mistakes were made. And yes, I did go alone, and I didn't really have anyone around me to kind of coach me on how to travel abroad, especially by yourself. So I figured everything out online, just basically like Googled how to travel for as cheap as possible, and I ended up finding a website called Workaway.info. I'll link it below because even to this day I do still use that website. So that was a good find. The reason that I wanted to travel as cheap as possible was because I was super broke. I was working at a taco time, minimum wage. So what I ended up doing is during tax returns, I spent my entire tax return, which was only like a little over $1,000, on a round-trip ticket to Japan. And I used the website Skyscanner, which I'll also link below. Also is a really great website that I still use today. Now, when you are bargain shopping like this, you aren't going to get the best seat or the most direct flight. For example, my flight ended up being from Seattle to Vancouver, Canada, and a 20-hour layover, and then fly over to the Kansai International Airport, which is where I was going, the Osaka airport. So yes, I slept in the Vancouver airport. Fun. But you know, you do what you gotta do. So back to Workaway. If you don't know what it is, it's basically you look for people who are willing to host you, and in exchange, you give your time like kind of work for them. So there's a lot of au pairs, there's hostels looking for people to like clean the hostel rooms and stuff, or like community service or teaching. So I found a Workaway that was in Osaka, Japan, and it was this couple and their son who were looking for someone who would be like a YouTube personality, for instance, like exploring Japan, and then they would like put it on YouTube. And I was interested in YouTube even then, you know, this is years ago now, but it sounded fun. And they were saying, oh, we'll take you to all these fun events, and all you have to do is just like explore, and we'll film it on camera and it'll be great. So my mistake was there had been no other people who had done this Workaway before. So usually on the website you can see people who had already stayed there and experienced this and can leave a review and kind of a little description about how it was. And these people had just signed up with the website, so no one else had done it yet. I was the first one. So some of you more savvy travelers are probably going like red flag, but I was so ignorant when I first went on this trip. So it came time for me to go. I packed a very small carry-on bag and left for my 2-month trip to Japan with $400 in my pocket. Again, I was very ignorant. I even like dressed up for my flight. That was so dumb. I even wore my contacts onto the plane. Don't ever do that. It was kind of funny though, because when I got on the plane and I realized how the airplane air makes your contacts dry out super fast, I took out my contacts and looked in my bag for my glasses and realized I had forgotten them back home in America. And so I had to like be escorted by the flight attendants back to my seat every time I went up to use the bathroom because I couldn't see the seat numbers above my seat. It was that bad. Yeah, I was pretty blind. And my mom ended up having to ship my glasses from America to Japan. I actually ended up getting LASIK surgery recently to make traveling a little easier, so I'll link that video up here on how that was. If you're interested. So my travel experience was uncomfortable and long, but I actually met my very first Japanese friend on that flight. He was sitting next to me and we ended up talking like most of the flight when we were awake, so that was really fun. When I got off the flight in Osaka, Japan. There was the mother and son that had offered to host me waiting for me at the airport, which was great. And then they took me on the train back home to their home in Osaka. So this whole experience started out pretty great. The mother, I really liked her. The young son, he didn't care to chat with me or anything really, like he didn't care about me at all. However, they didn't speak as much English as I thought they did, and I didn't speak as much Japanese as they thought I did. Little miscommunication there. Because this was my first time in Japan, you know, you study a foreign language for a long time, but until you actually speak to someone who speaks that language fluently, you don't know like how much you can actually communicate with them. So I had grossly overestimated my abilities and just went and did this anyway. So there was some trouble with miscommunication, especially though with the husband of this family. But besides the communication issues, it was really fun at first. They took me to a festival, they dressed me up in yukata, took me to some really amazing restaurants, some famous places, some local cute restaurants, and it was honestly really great at first. But then I kind of started to realize that the husband was not happy with the way that I was on camera, because I didn't realize this at the time, obviously, my first time there. Japanese TV is like way over exaggerated. Like, oh my gosh, everything's wonderful and amazing and this is so oishi! That kind of thing. And I didn't get it. It's just, I didn't get it. That's just not how I am. Like I couldn't figure out what exactly they were expecting of me. So this kind of became a problem. And then I was also in charge of editing the videos, and that ended up being a problem because I would do something and think it was good, and then the husband would ask me to do something else that was like, why? That's gonna look bad, you know, in my mind. And I think I was right, but you know, he wanted a certain thing and I was working for them, so I had to do that whatever he asked me to do for the editing. And so the editing ended up taking a long time. Editing takes a long time anyway, but you know, having to go over and correct things or you know, add things after you've already finished the video, it takes so much longer. So I ended up working really long hours, and I should have realized this was weird or not okay, because it says right on Workaway like how many hours you're expected to work a day, and it's never in the like, you know, 8 to 10 hour range. It's always like in the 4 to 5 hour range. So I didn't end up seeing any of Osaka on my own, only with, you know, this family, which was, you know, nice, until they had 2 other girls come and stay with them to also be on camera and experience the city with me. They were from Taiwan and they had done this before, so and they spoke more Japanese than I did. And so right away they asked me like, you know, what's been going on, how's it been? And I told them, you know, kind of just naively like, oh, this is how it is and this is what we do all day. And they're like, huh? Yeah, they had to tell me that it was weird to expect your workawayer to work for 8 to 10 hours a day. Yeah. Gosh, I feel dumb. So these girls didn't stay very long. They immediately wanted to go to a different place. And so the issues kind of continued, and after a while, the husband said that unless I started to do better with my acting on camera, then he was going to hang on to my passport the rest of the time that I was staying with them. I obviously said no, because that's weird. Even then I knew that that was not safe to just be running around a foreign country without your passport. So when I said no, he said, okay, well then you have to leave. So I went on Workaway again, because again, I only had $400 in my pocket, and well, less at this point. And my ticket home was not until like a month from then. So I went on Workaway frantically searching for another place and literally messaged them probably sounding panicked, like, this is kind of an emergency, please let me stay at your place. If you don't have a bed, I'll sleep on the floor kind of, you know, message. And one place did get back to me immediately, and thankfully they were in Kyoto, which is only a short train ride away from Osaka. So the very next day I packed up my stuff and left. The wife of that family actually ended up giving me $50 in secret, because she felt so bad that I had to go through all that. And you know, the whole time she really wasn't in favor of what her husband was doing and how he was acting, but she seemed kind of like, I don't know how to describe exactly, but she didn't act like she had any power to stop it. So anyway, that was really helpful that she helped me out with the train money. So I went over to Kyoto, and immediately the situation was so much better. The place that ended up taking me in was a hostel that is in Kyoto, and they have workawayers come and clean the rooms, and they have a whole like dorm section for the workawayers. So there was many other people staying there, and there had been many other people before us, so it was a much safer situation in that respect. We only had to clean rooms or check in or check out guests from certain times during the day, only like the 4 or 5 hours a day, like it says on Workaway. And then we would have 2 days off a week, and we often had most of the day to ourselves as well. So we went around and did a lot. I was often traveling with the other Workawayers, and that was so fun. It's actually one of the reasons that I fell in love with doing Workaways, despite my previous experience, because the next one was just awesome, and I met so many like-minded people, made some great friends, and we just had so much fun together. And since I now had so much time to explore the country, I now had time to hang out with that first Japanese friend that I made on the airplane. He actually took me to some of my favorite places that I've ever been to, which was the Osaka Aquarium. It's really cool. I love aquariums in general, but this one was just awesome. And then probably the most delicious thing I've ever had in Japan. It's called hitsumabushi, and what it is like you get this bowl of rice with barbecue eel on it, and then you get some other stuff with it. I don't really know what it was, but you're supposed to eat just the barbecue eel and the rice first, and then you add stuff to it and eat it a different way the second time, and then for the third portion you eat it yet another way. So it's kind of cool. It's like 3 different meals in one. Does that make sense? And that's why I always tell people, especially if you're gonna go travel alone, is make friends, because they will show you things that are the best thing ever, and you would have never known about it if they hadn't shown it to you. Even the other travelers that I was with would show me things that they would hear about from their friends. We went to a Hanabi Taikai, fireworks festival, and an underground rap battle, which was, I don't even know how to say. And I would not have known about these things if I hadn't heard about it from the friends that I made. So in the end, although you can kind of take this as a cautionary tale and maybe make some notes about like things not to do, I still count my first time in Japan as an overall good experience, because I made some of my best friends and I learned a lot, and I was pretty proud of myself to have been able to get myself out of a sticky situation, even though I didn't really have much resources. And that's kind of just a important life skill, right? So I hope you learned something from this, or at least found it entertaining. Let me know in the comments some of your more interesting travel experiences. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!